Hey, my name is Todd Tilghman. You might remember me from that one time I won The Voice on season 18, and you are watching the CCM Cafe. As far as writing a book, full disclosure, I thought when I was in pastoral ministry, I thought about writing, and I tried like a lot. There's a part in I think it's the very beginning, chapter 1, or maybe the prologue or what that of the book, where they put some journal entries of mine, which I was hoping that would be a book itself. And so I kind of started writing. I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and then wrote a little bit more. And then like one day I printed it all out and it's like, 7 pages or something. So I'm like, oh God, So basically when all this stuff happened with the show, my wife was invited on. Actually, the co-author of the book, Trisha Goyer is her name. Y'all should look her up, man. She's got tons of books out there and stuff. But so she sort of put this like net out on social media and said, "Does anybody know Todd Tilghman's wife?" And so I don't know who ended up connecting them, but she got connected with my wife, and she asked my wife to come on her podcast. And so Brooke went on the podcast, and they just had a big time, and talked about life. So basically, when I don't really know, and Trisha, if you watch this, forgive me. I don't think I've still listened to that episode of the podcast. But on the other hand, I really don't even, everybody's like, how does it feel? I don't know, I'm so busy, I don't even know how it feels to be on The Voice, much less win it. And that's been over a year ago. I just can't feel it yet. So I haven't really listened to it, but I think it was after the podcast was over, Trisha was basically like, man, y'all really should consider writing a book, because The Voice it was this big thing on TV. But really, all of this other stuff that's happened in y'all's life, because we have been through a lot of different things. And so my initial reaction was, no one's going to read that. Like, no one wants to read it. That was literally my reaction. So the way that it played out was, because a lot of people have said, especially when we go on these like marriage blogs and marriage podcasts, they were like, man, that must have been tough. It's already tough to be married, but you're trying to write a book together. I'm like, it was not as tough as it seems, because we didn't really do it together. Thank God, we would have killed one another. What we did was, I stay on the road a lot, and that actually plays to my benefit, except the fact that service goes up and down on your phone. But Trisha would call me and record our conversation, and I would just tell her these stories about. She would say, well, give me your perspective on, because for example, part of our book is, there was a time in our early marriage where Brooke left and filed for divorce. We're still together now. We worked it out, and that's been 20 years ago. But she'd say, give me your perspective on that. So I would just tell her my story. This is what and then there was, we've adopted 2 girls from internationally, and both of those adoptions were miraculous, but both in very different ways as far as us being able to actually do it, because, I was a youth pastor in a small church of single income. We didn't really make a ton of money. So she would call Brooke, and she would record the conversation. She would say, give me your perspective on Judah or Olive's adoption. Or my wife battled severe, like debilitating depression and anxiety. And so she would ask me, when that happened, what my take and how I felt and different things. And so then she just put it all together. And so what we really are hoping for, I'm really, really hoping to, in a way, I don't know how to exactly put this, partially, I don't want to normalize it as if this is how everyone's going to live our lives every day, but I do want to take the stigma, especially in the Christian and faith world, but really anybody who reads it, I kind of want to take the stigma off of people struggling and hurting, and maybe, I don't want to say normalize it, but maybe help people understand that all of us hurt, and we all struggle, and we all go through these, really from time to time, just insane battles, but we also can look for almost like the silver lining in these things, and what God's teaching us and what we're learning about one another, through those processes. And so that's why the book got called Every Little Win, is because there was this big thing that happened on TV, but that's not really our story. That's just a part of our story, and we want hopefully everyone who reads it to say, well, my specifics may be different, but we're all walking the same path, really. And I can get through this. If they got through that, I can get through this too, And that's really kind of my major goal for the whole thing. I think my wife would say the same thing.